The next topic is to discuss some venous drainage of the thorax region. And what about that thorax region venous drainage? You will see that there is azygous venous system which we need to discuss actually. There is this azygous vein which is on the right side, and then there is hemiazygous vein which are 2 in number on the left side. Now this left-sided azygous veins, hemiazygous veins, they drain into azygous vein, and azygous vein will drain to superior vena cava. There is one a hemiazygous vein which is draining the lower intercostal spaces, and then there's accessory hemiazygous vein which is draining the upper intercostal spaces. This accessory hemiazygous vein and the azygous vein, they cross the midline in the vicinity of T8 vertebra and then drain into the azygous vein, and then azygous vein will drain into the superior vena cava at the vertebra number T4. This is the description which we have to draw a diagram for. As you are drawing the diagram, you have to understand that we are looking at the body from the front view, and this is the neck region, and then you have the thorax region, and then you have the abdomen region. So how do you separate the thorax and abdomen region? To separate the thorax and abdomen region, I will have the diaphragm. Yes, thoraco-abdominal diaphragm. That is the thoraco-abdominal diaphragm. And on the thoraco-abdominal diaphragm, you have a central tendon of diaphragm. And on the central tendon of the diaphragm, you have the heart sitting. And as you say, the heart is sitting, it will have the 4 chambers. And you will be focusing upon the right atrium now. So you're telling that this is front view of the body and the neck region? Yes. And this is the thorax region with the heart? Yes. And this is the abdomen region? Right. Between thorax and abdomen you have the diaphragm. On the diaphragm you have central tendon of diaphragm on which you have the 4 chamber of the heart? Yes. Okay then. And to remember a rule that the body below the diaphragm will drain into the inferior vena cava, and body over the diaphragm drain into superior vena cava. So the rule is that body under the diaphragm, like liver, is under the diaphragm will drain to inferior vena cava, whereas body above the diaphragm will drain to superior vena cava. For example, thorax will drain to superior vena cava. Tell again. See, under the diaphragm you have the liver. Yes. And liver drain into hepatic veins. Yes. Where the hepatic veins will drain? Hepatic veins must drain into inferior vena cava. So under the diaphragm you have the liver. Liver will drain to hepatic veins, and hepatic veins must drain into inferior vena cava because body under diaphragm drain into inferior vena cava. Similarly, body above diaphragm like thorax region should drain into superior vena cava. How the thorax will drain into superior vena cava? With the help of some azygous veins. And which azygous veins are you talking about? That we will see. Which azygous vein? But first you tell. Superior vena cava enters the right atrium. Superior vena cava enters the right atrium at which vertebral level? That is at the T5 vertebra level. And inferior vena cava will enter the right atrium at which vertebral level? Inferior vena cava will enter the right atrium. That will be at the when it is puncturing the sternal tendon. Yeah, when it is puncturing the sternal tendon, it is T8 vertebral level. T8 vertebral level. So understand, superior vena cava is entering the right atrium at the T5 vertebral level, whereas the inferior vena cava will enter the right atrium at the T8 vertebral level, because that is when it will puncture central tendon of diaphragm to enter the right atrium. Now if you say so, what is the extent of the heart? Extent of the heart is T5 to T8 vertebra in supine posture. In supine posture. So this question comes, what is the extent of the heart in supine posture? And your answer is T5 to T8 vertebra. And what if it is standing posture? If it is standing posture, then gravity will pull the heart 1 vertebra down. And what will be that? You add +1 +1. You mean to say T T5 plus 1 and T8 plus 1 means T69. Yeah, T69, but in standing posture because the heart is pulled down by one vertebra by gravity. But usually the examiner will ask you, what is the extent of the heart in the supine posture? And you will say T5 to T8 vertebra. T5 where the superior vena cava entering the right atrium, and T8 where the inferior vena cava enter the right atrium after puncturing standard and diaphragm there. Now you see there is one azygous vein which is formed in the abdomen region and punctured the right crus of the diaphragm to enter the thorax. Which crus? The right crus. And after puncturing the right crus of the diaphragm, it will enter the superior vena cava at the T4 vertebra level, one vertebra higher. Where is the azygous vein formed? In the abdomen. And how does it enter the thorax? Puncturing the right crus of the diaphragm. And where does it drain the superior vena cava? Before it drains into the right atrium. Okay, but where? It is one vertebra higher. But where? It is T4 vertebra. You mean to say a zygous vein will drain into superior vena cava before superior vena cava drain to right atrium? Yes. So a zygous vein will drain to superior vena cava one vertebra higher? Yes. That is T4 vertebra? Yes. And when the superior vena cava enter right atrium? T5 vertebra. Okay. So what about the left thorax? Because this is the right thorax. You told that right thorax will drain into superior vena cava using some azygous vein. But what about the left thorax? Left thorax you have two veins. What are the two veins? You tell that there is some hemiazygous vein which is formed in the abdomen and puncture the left crus of the diaphragm to enter the thorax. So this is some hemizygous vein formed in the abdomen region, yes, and hemizygous vein will puncture the left crus of the diaphragm to enter the thorax region, yes, and drain the lower intercostal spaces. Now, if it is draining the lower intercostal spaces, then who is draining the upper intercostal spaces? Upper intercostal spaces are drained by see, there are upper intercostal spaces and there are low intercostal spaces. Low intercostal spaces are drained by hemizygous vein and upper intercostal spaces are drained by accessory hemizygous vein. So this is accessory hemiazygous vein. Yes. What is it doing now? See, both of them will turn to the right side and go behind the heart. So they are going behind the heart. Yes. Now they are going behind the heart. Let me use some other color. So they were passing behind the heart now, yes. And what they do after that? After that, they will drain into the azygous vein. So you're telling that the hemiazygous vein accessory or maybe the proper hemizygous vein, they will turn to the right side and pass behind the heart so that they can drain into the azygous vein. Then this is the azygous vein. Yes, that is the azygous vein. And when they have drained into azygous vein, then the azygous vein will drain into the superior vena cava. Yes. A question comes that where is the azygous veins crossing which vertebral level? And that vertebral level is actually same T8 vertebral level. Oh, it is at the T8 vertebral level only. Yes. Okay. So hemizygous vein which is formed in the abdomen is draining the lower intercostal spaces, then cross the midline at T8 vertebral level to empty into the azygous vein there. Yes, similarly, accessory hemizygous vein which drain the upper intercostal spaces is crossing the T8 vertebral level to drain into the azygous vein so that all the blood is in the azygous vein and then it can drain into superior vena cava before superior vena cava drain into the right atrium. Now, I have a problem. What is the problem? Problem is I have a block in the inferior vena cava. So I need collaterals. How will I send the blood into the heart? If you are blocked in the inferior vena cava, you need collaterals. Then do one thing. Send the blood of inferior vena cava into the azygous vein, and then azygous vein will drain it into the superior vena cava and into the right atrium. Oh, you mean to say inferior vena cava has some communication with azygous vein? Yes, there are communication. and then inferior vena cava will send the blood into azygous vein, will be the collateral to carry blood towards the superior vena cava and towards the right atrium. Yes, it can work the other way also. Means if there is a superior vena cava obstruction, so if there is a superior vena cava obstruction, then you cannot drain to the heart, right atrium. So now there is a superior vena cava obstruction and I cannot drain into the right atrium, then you will see superior vena cava is sending blood into the azygous vein, and from the azygous vein it can drain to the inferior vena cava and into the right atrium. Or this way. Yes, you see, if there is a block in the superior vena cava, then what the superior vena cava cannot drain to right atrium, how will it drain into the right atrium then? See, superior vena cava now send the blood into azygous vein, and azygous vein will send it to the inferior vena cava and into the right atrium. Means whether you have superior vena cava obstruction or maybe inferior vena cava obstruction, you may see that it is azygous vein which can bring the blood up and bring the blood down and work like a collateral. It will be dilated now. Dilated. Why it is dilated? Because the blood of SVC, IVC it is carrying, so it will be dilated. Azygous vein will be dilated. So these are some details. There are questions asking where is the azygous vein draining the superior vena cava, T4 vertebra, and where is superior vena cava entering the right atrium, T5 vertebra, and where is the inferior vena cava entering the right atrium, T8 vertebra, and what else is happening at T8 vertebra? It is the hemiazygous veins crossing the midline to drain to azygous vein, and what else is about the T5-8 vertebra? And the T5-T8 vertebra is the extent of the heart in the supine posture.